Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2014 Delle Donne Poppiti del Giorno Levano sul Tusciano to the United States Family Reunion. I'm joined by cousins John Malatesta and Joanne Delle Donne Malatesta, who are sitting behind the camera and helped put this video together. And we're here at Madeline's, of course, owned by the Delle Donne Sparco family. And the reason we're getting together this year and the reason that we're doing this video is to catalog and preserve our memories, our family memories, whether they be the traditions that we've celebrated, the funny things that have happened to family members, or just the photos that remind us who we are, where we came from. And the biggest reason that we're doing all this is to honor those who came 100 years ago, the sacrifices they made. You know, think about it. Not knowing English, not having 2 cents in their pocket, but you know what? I want to go someplace. I want to put a flag down, and I want to say, hey, I can make a better way of living for my family going forward. So as we get together, we say, hey, cousin, and we remember who we are, where we come from. It's a way of honoring our ancestors and telling them in a very nice way, we'll never forget the sacrifices that you made for us so that we could live in the greatest country in the world. With that being said, let's enjoy who we are and our memories.
$813. How many people lived there at one time? There was my aunt and uncle, the 10 children, Jimmy Novellini, who was a boarder, 2 orphans who had no place to go, Maria Poppiti, because they had brought her to live there, and of course, though Francesco Delle Donne had a huge house and empty rooms, where did she go to live? With her son Angelo. So what do we got? We got 10 kids. Oh, Rosie. Rosie got married to a miner in West Virginia. He was killed in a mine accident, so where would she go? She returned home to live at 813.
My mother was Rose Delle Donne Galante, but I grew up in my grandparents' house, so I'm a Delle Donne, essentially. Because if I said my name was Thelma Galante, somebody would say, where are you from? Or I don't think there's another Galante in the state, I don't know. But I can say I had lots of fun growing up. You know, we didn't have a lot. I guess I didn't even know then that we didn't have a lot. But like I say sometimes, we had our fights. I mean, we used to battle as kids, but we had a lot of fun growing up. And through the years, we got together for any holiday, was it Memorial Day or whatever. And we would talk about when we were at 813 and laugh every time. We would laugh about all these crazy things that we did when we were kids. So I have many, many happy memories growing up in the Delle Donne. And my grandparents were Angelo and Teresa. My grandmother was a Poppiti. Her name was Teresa Poppiti.
And your mom, and in the background, Joanne Malatesta is saying, hey, when my father and mother got married, they lived there too. So, hey, I've run out of fingers and feet to count on, but there were a lot of people living in that house. Eventually, you know, through marriage, they got married and went away, and slowly but surely the number dwindled down. And the last one was Jabber. By the way, few people know what Jabber's real name is. It's Ciro, after my father. So Jabber got married, had 3 children, and they probably didn't have enough room by modern standards. to live in that house. But you can imagine nowadays, all those people in one house, my gracious.
I'm still 813 North Scott Street. Everybody called it 813. I have my 3 daughters, and they keep me busy with their children. And I got my 1 daughter, Gina, and 2 grandchildren living with me, which are my great-grandchildren. Unfortunately, their mother passed. Anyway, my mom always played Santa Claus, and she would come down the steps carrying a big bag of gifts. Ho, 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 here comes Santa Claus. And then she would sit down, and basically we all sat around on the floor. We made all the kids sit around, and Santa Claus, which was Mom, gave out the gifts to everybody. So now I continue to do that in my home. I've always played the Santa Claus, and I'm using the same Santa Claus suit, believe it or not, and I do the ho, 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 ho. And then through the years now I'm trying to get somebody else to do Santa Claus, because now I do different characters, a lot of the Walt Disney characters. And my kids never know who I'm going to be, who I'm going to do. When I did Cruella de Vil, they were rolling on the floor because they had no clue that their mother was in this wig down to her rear end. And anyway, we just have fun. We just do a lot of different things. And I just try to do and make things good at my house, and holidays good. I like people to come. I like the Easter time. I love the Christmas time. And I love St. Anthony's Day when everybody comes.
My parents are Steve and Carmela Tasso Donato. My mom came from Boston and met my father at the Delle Donne house on Scott Street. My dad was friends with Uncle Tom, Uncle Ernie. Uncle Tom was my godfather. And my mom came down to visit with my grandfather, which she really didn't want to come. She wanted to go skiing, and she was a little mad, but he insisted she come down and met my dad, and here I am. I have a sister, Stephanie, who has 2 sons, twins, and we have 2 babies in the family now, so that's our family. But my parents, I grew up on 7th Street, and we had great traditions, and my sister and I try to follow that to this day. We're not real sure about the recipes because a lot of them, as you know, Italian families, there's no recipe. They
pinch
just
of this, pinch of that.
Yeah, feel it, taste it, you know. So we try to keep up the Italian Christmas Eve dinner. We try to do some things, you know, that my mom used to cook, but every time we cook them, we say, oh my God, remember Mom used to make this. So, and you know, they try to instill in us keeping traditions. Family is very important. When we grew up on 7th Street, we had family all around. There must have been a mile block of family.
Our families lived within blocks of each other, cousins playing in the park across from 813. There was Marlene, Peter, Angela, myself, my brother Bill, and little Vicky from West Virginia, a family member of Vittorio Galanti's who used to come and visit every summer. My dad was Albino Michael Delle Donne, also known as Shorty or Beanie. He is the son of Angelo and Teresa Poppiti Delle Donne. He was the first of his generation to break the mold and marry non-Italian. He married an Irish-German lass named Laura Rosalind Lysinger Delle Donne, also known as Rosa Medigan, not to be confused with all the other Roses in the Delle Donne Poppiti clan. My brother is William Lee Delle Donne, known in the family as Cousin Billy, to his friends Bill, and to others PIA.
Billy, Joanne's brother, had a tricycle. And they were sitting around, and Ernie said to Billy, Billy, move that tricycle away from here because people can't get by. Billy he has never changed. He just let it stay there. Billy, he said, move that bike. And Billy just moved it a little bit, but not the way Ernie wanted it. So Ernie goes out there, grabs the tricycle, and heaves it into the middle of the street. So nowadays we talk about abuse and all kinds of craziness. We always had it.
Bill married Anne Marie Wilmington Delle Donne. They have 3 daughters, Anne Marie, Susan, and Gia. Another quick note about my brother. He's been a volunteer firefighter and fire police for over 50 years. He's one of Sussex County's first responders. I married John Paul Malatesta. He was one of 5 John Malatestas in the neighborhood. I met John at the very first Delle Donne Poppiti family reunion in 1963. He was in the band Trade Winds, along with my cousin Carmen Poppiti. John and I have no children. I really think somebody up there looked at our craziness and said, "Do not replicate."
I hope you're enjoying the memories, the traditions, the photos. I'm actually sitting here eating a piece of tomato pie, and it just reminded me that the first time as a kid that I saw tomato pie was on Fridays of the Via Crucis during Lent, and how much, in terms of the Via Crucis, you think Uncle Mike Poppiti, my Uncle Mike Poppiti, was the first Jesus in the Via Crucis, and of course the Delle Donne tradition with keeping the Via Crucis at St. Anthony's alive. You think Delle Donne, you think Via Crucis. So I hope you're enjoying this, and we're going to take a pause now for cousin Pete Delle Donne. He has a special message for everyone.
Throughout each of our lives, our parents have provided us with values, family values. I learned my family values from my parents, Ernie and Elsie, with special ingredients from grandparents, Angelo and Teresa. Let's share and elaborate on 4 family values: trust, confidence, respect, and communications. Trust provides us the feelings of love and belonging. Confidence is the fun of traditions. That's what today is, your family reunion. Respect is acknowledging the feelings of others. Communications is the language of listening. 4 significant family values: trust, confidence, respect, and communications. Enjoy your family reunion.
Angelo was born in 1885. Teresa was born in 1887. My parents are Ciro and Lydia Poppiti. My brothers are Mike, Ciro, myself, and we had a brother and sister who died with the flu, Egidio, and her name was Teresa. Now, Angelo's father was one of 10 children. And Angelo's father married Maria Poppiti, who is buried in Cathedral Cemetery, and that's another story. Teresa Poppiti is who Angelo Delle Donne married, and his mother was Maria Poppiti. So it introduced a little bit of insanity into the bloodline. 813 was the house that every kid went to and stayed there, and it was a wonderful place to live. My father and my mother, and of course, we had good times, and once in a while my father would have, he'd go out and buy a lot of stuff, and the whole family would come down and they'd have something to eat. And we just had wonderful times together.
My dad, Gordon Del Giorno, and his parents, Donato and Angelina Delle Donne, even though I didn't know them, I know that they had certain traditions from what I read and heard. And they had a house, which they actually called the House of Love, which was on the corner of Lincoln Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. I think she had 25-pound boxes of pasta at a time, and would cook it for the whole neighborhood. Basically, they would come over and just feed everyone.
I don't dress like this for everyone, only on special occasions. Aunt Mary and my dad taught me how to cook traditional Italian. In the spring, my dad would stop by an open field and pick broccoli rabe. He would bring some home, but then he would also bring most of it to Aunt Mary. The Irish didn't do broccoli rabe real well. Today you can buy broccoli rabe in the grocery store for $3.99 a pound. Who knew that we were picking a delicacy? Aunt Mary, she would teach anyone who wanted to learn, not just cooking, but baking cookies and Easter pie. Aunt Mary married Frank Straparo. They have one daughter, Maria. She's the little sister I never had. Maria is married to Vincent Iopolo. Aunt Lydia taught me how to throw a party. She had more New Year's parties and picnics, I think, than any of my other aunts and uncles. My dad had many family picnics, but Aunt Lydia knew how to throw one. She married Frank Eugene Sparko. Aunt Lydia and Uncle Peggy had 2 children. Vicky, married to Ralph Hopkins, and Steve, who now runs Madeline's.
I've always been a family guy. Always had big parties, you know. The house, always had some kind of picnic, just a gathering, fun. Have a cocktail or 2 and plenty to eat. It's Lent, I'm not supposed to be drinking. I have a few children. We have Stephanie, who is expecting end of June, beginning of July. We have Raquel, graduated from Tampa, and she's up here working, hopefully getting back to her field of nursing, physical therapy, like her sister Stephanie. And little Junior, he's up in New York. He wants to be a star. He wants to be on the screen or theater. He's in New York. He'll be there for at least 2 years. And he's doing well. So everybody's doing okay. I'm proud of them all.
Aunt Lucy, she taught me how to party. She loved to dance. She listened to Frank Sinatra. She was maid of honor in my wedding. She was the other one of my dad's generation that broke the Italian marriage mold. She met and married William Campman, Uncle Bill. They married late in life. They have no children together, but boy, did they have fun in Rehoboth. They loved walking the boards. Aunt Angie, also known as Chet, she let me know it was okay to be a tomboy. She loved my stories about football, softball, things that I did. We bowled together for many years in a league. Aunt Angie married Mario Petrucci, and they had 3 children, Teresa, Sandy, and Michael. Aunt Rose was a very dominant lady. She was women's lib before women's lib was a household word. She gave me Angela, my best friend growing up. She was married to Vittorio Galanti, and after he passed away, she met and married Frank Capasso. Her legacy is Thelma Petticone and all of her children, Thelma and John, Teresa Galanti, and Frank Capasso. Now to the uncles. They more or less stayed to themselves. They would find the corner of a room, corner of a yard. They would play an Italian numbers game. I have no idea. They would shout Cinque, Duo. They would throw their fingers out. I'm not sure what it was all about, and I didn't ask. Now, talking about numbers, Uncle Pete. Can you imagine how Uncle Pete would have been at numbers if they had Excel back in the day? Uncle Pete married Aunt Sue, Susan Fusco Delle Donne. She was an OR nurse, but also a gourmet cook. She not only wrote and published her own cookbook, but it was also illustrated by another family member, Frank Delle Donne. Uncle Tommy, he married Julia Casapola. They lived on South Scott Street, had 5 children, Diane, Tommy, Bobby, Nikki, and Beth. They passed away way too early in life.
Ernie was, he was very nervous and high-strung, and the guys would mumble under their breath and just aggravate him. They were, you talking about me? No, we're not talking about you, but they'd get him going. He was kind of the ramrod of the whole situation there, and if you can imagine, all these people ate in 2 shifts. And Ernie said, we got to have tablecloths on the table. The knives and forks and spoons have to be set out in a certain order. And in the summertime, they'd have ice water. You know how ice water sweats. So make sure there's a plate under every pitcher, because otherwise it'll make the tablecloth damp. So one day he went in there and there were no dishes, and he said, "Oh, you want to dampen the tablecloth?" Okay, so he took the pitchers and just emptied them out all over the place. The characters that lived in that house and in my house and in the neighborhood no longer exist. They're all gone. And we don't have characters like that anymore. So we've lost something in the years that have gone by, and because we don't have any more characters.
There's something about a face-to-face, having coffee together that we've lost. And I think that's the kind of traditions that my grandparents and their parents and way back did that we are just starting to think about again. Real relationships are going to a place like Madeline's here and having spaghetti together, or handshake with your neighbors and stuff like that. And that's those traditions that I think I try to live every day now with my interactions with people. And I think that's what my father, Gordon Del Giorno, who worked for Diver Chevrolet, and when he passed away, I saw the 9,000 cars that he sold while in his career. He had the files on every person. And I thought, and I'm talking handwritten files. So I thought, wow, he really valued the connections and the relationships. And that's what I do every day.
When Charles Dickens, who was an Italian, said, "They were the best of times and they were the worst of times," he must not have known anyone who grew up Italian. If he did, he may have written, "They were the best of times and they were the greatest of times." Just to live in a house with gravy simmering on the stove, where the kids only came in the back door and never through the living room, where a shout, "Wait until I tell your father," floated from the kitchen, you would know what it was like to grow up Italian. Growing up Italian meant movement. It seemed something was always in the planning stage. Christmas cookies, births, baptisms, weddings, first communions, strawberry festivals, Easter engagements, deaths, and burials. Growing up Italian meant holiday shopping at Peter Pop's, or a quick stop by Pete's 5 and 10 for a certain nail that Home Depot didn't have. Growing up Italian meant spending a warm June night listening to Italian songs at the festival. Growing up Italian meant hugging, kissing, yelling, getting angry, holding a grudge. But it also meant having the best forgiveness moments and delicious homemade wine and juicy backyard-grown figs. But most of all, growing up Italian meant lasting values, lasting memories, and lasting ties. Indeed, they were the best of times, and even over many years, they are still the greatest of times.
Here's to the family members who have passed away, the family members that cannot be with us today, and to all you family members who have joined us. Salute.
Wasn't that great? In fact, I sort of wrote down all the families that we've heard from over the course of this video, including Delle Donne Poppitis, of course, Del Giorno's, Fortunato, and Donato. Just a reminder of how strong our family is, all the things that we have done, and how extended it has grown. Before the video closes, I definitely want to say thank you to our host committee, who have done a lot of work behind the scenes to make all of this possible. Be sure to tell them thank you before the day is out. I want to leave you with one final thought. It'd be a shame if the only thing that we take from this reunion is a copy of this video, because that means we'll have not really honored our ancestors who came before. Let's not wait so long to reach out and say hello to a cousin. Let's keep what we're doing here in the reunion and on the video alive at all times. And God bless. Thank you.
You know, I'm not camera ready personality here. This is my fourth take and my fourth glass of wine doing this. So it's been a good night.